Hi, and welcome to the Baltic Football Podcast. Today is a very special day because I am joined by a brand new shiny winner of Lithuanian Cup, the head coach of FK Panevėžys, Roland Vrabec. Welcome, Roland. How are you today?
Thank you very much. I'm fine. I'm fine, really fine. Thanks for the invitation.
I'm delighted to be able to speak to you. So you won the Lithuanian Cup. I mean, it's not even collected any dust yet, right? It's so fresh and new.
Exactly. It's only 3 days ago, yeah, and I'm still overwhelmed with all the feelings, great feelings after this win. So it feels like it was just an hour ago still. Yeah,
It's a fantastic story. I think it's fair to say that many eyebrows have been raised with which is not only making it to the cup final, but also upsetting Hegelmann for their third straight final loss. I think well, we published an analysis where we did name them as favorites for this clash, and
Mhm.
well, were we wrong?
Yeah. Obviously, you were wrong. I mean, of course, if you look at the whole season, and if you look at the games that we played against Hegelmann in our league, and also, when you look on the way to the final, you can say that Hegelmann was the favorite before the game. But as usual, like in every country, cup is always different, and you have to play every game 100%. Doesn't matter which opponent. And so on the paper, like you said, Hegelmann was the favorite, but then on the pitch, it was luckily for us different then.
And you are something of a cup specialist, which we'll talk about a little bit later, I think. But maybe let's learn a little bit more about who you are. You arrived
Okay.
to Panevėžys just this season, and I think you are only the second German coach in the post-restoration of independence history of A Liga.
Okay. Yeah, I know Gino Lettieri that was also coaching at Panevėžys 2 years ago. I know him. We met a couple of times in Germany. It was funny that when I left FSR Frankfurt, he became the coach after me there. So this time it's a little bit around that I came after him. And yeah, I mean, of course, if you look at Germany and look at the football in Germany, of course, most of the German coaches prefer to stay in Germany, to work in Germany. But Lithuania is not really in the heads of German coaches. So it's not a surprise that I'm only the second right now. So for me, it's clear that not many coaches have been here before from
So
Germany.
how did you get here? How did you learn about Panevėžys and
Like it is often in football, you get a call, you get a message from an agent that knows you from another station and ask you if you are interested maybe to go to work to in Lithuania, and then you start to do your homework, to research about the club, about the league, about the country, about everything. And luckily, like I said, I know Gino Lettieri. So I called him also, asked him about the club, about the facilities, about the structure of the club and organization. And then, yeah, you have to talk to your family also and see if it makes sense for not only you, also for your family. And then I decided, because I was around about 6 months without the job. Had some offers to go somewhere else before Panevėžys, but I was not quite sure. And then in this moment, when Panevėžys contacted me, I was like feeling now I need to work again. So it was something like the right moment that Panevėžys contacted me. I was really willing to work again, and all the informations that I got from Gino were also fine. So I decided to go then and to go for this experience in Lithuania.
you previously coached clubs such as St. Pauli and you coached the German U18 national team. Was it when what was it like when you told your friends and family that, hey, there's this club in northern Lithuania that wants me to come and coach them?
Nobody knew about this club. Nobody. Um, and for my family and for my closest friends, it was a surprise, because um, the standing, the ranking of A-Liga, of course, in Lithuania, comparing to, let's say, Western Europe leagues, is quite smaller, and nobody knows the league in West Europe. The bigger names like Žalgiris, of course, but nothing else. So everybody was surprised and saw this a little bit like a challenge for me, and they were also, of course, excited for me to try something new, to go into a country that is not quite similar to Germany or Denmark, where I live. So it was, a little bit surprising for everybody. But after a while, when I talked to my friends and to my family about the league and the games and how I feel in Panevėžys, they understood that it was probably the right decision.
So did you sell it as a challenge?
Yeah, of course. It is always a challenge, when you go to a country you never been before, you never worked in this country, you have no experience with the mentality of this country, the culture of this country, because of course the way people are in Balticum and everything that is part of the Balticum is completely different than how I grew up in Germany, and how I used to live in Western Germany, so Western Europe, Germany and Denmark or Switzerland also. So of course it was a challenge to arrive, because you don't know what's going to happen. Can be a good thing. On the other side, can be also a really bad experience, and you have to maybe drive home after a couple of weeks, because you don't just fit in the country and the city and the club. So it's always like a 50-50 thing when you are the first time working in a country like you never experienced before.
And you're not even in the capital or one of the two major cities. And you yourself, you're from Frankfurt, which is a
Yeah.
huge city, as you mentioned, not on the wrong side of the post-World War II separation.
Yeah.
And then you arrive to Panevėžys, which is a lovely town. It has a lovely city center, but it's very, very small compared to where you're from.
Yeah, of course, it's a huge difference between Frankfurt and Panevėžys. I grew up in Frankfurt, but during my work as a football coach, I was in Luxembourg, for example, also not big cities there. I used to work in Switzerland, actually in Liechtenstein, but played with the club in Switzerland, which is also really, really small country, and like a small city or village there. So I was used a little bit, to not live in places big as Frankfurt. So it was not a big surprise. And when I come to a new city, to a new club, I'm so focused in the work, in the daily work, that many times I don't even want to go outside in the city and experience the city that much. You need to calm, you need to rest most of the time in between the training sessions and the game. So I, of course, was in town. I was in the center. I experienced everything that you can experience in Panevėžys, but most of the time I'm focused anyway on my job. So it's not a big problem or big issue.
Do you already have a favorite spot in town that you go to?
Not really, not really. I mean, I'm most of the time at the training center, and when I have a little bit off time, then I also go to the gym. Gym Plus is a big thing in in Lithuania or Balticum. I think in every city are 10 of these Gym Plus. So you spend a lot of time there. Also, you go to the shopping malls a little bit in the center. When it was summer, then you had really nice spots outside in the center of the city. So yeah, I experienced some things, but as I said, the most of the time I was working.
So you joined Panevėžys what it was probably a slightly sad or disappointed time in their history. They have just gone off from winning the championship to
Mhm.
having an abysmal season after that, and they brought you in to fix things up. What was the mood like in the club when you arrived?
Yeah, of course, the club was not happy about the season last year. When you become a champion, you qualify for Champions League qualification games for Europe. Then, of course, you expect another season in A Liga also. Of course, when you become a champion, you also need to prepare the next season very, very well. Like I heard, like it was said, they had difficulties, of course, to keep all the main players, to get quality players, because when you become champion in Lithuania, all the foreign players, good quality players, they also have possibilities to go somewhere else, of course, you know. So it's not always easy to keep the squad and even make the squad stronger when you become champion Lithuania, if you are not Žalgiris, for example, and it's another history. So I think it started like that, then a couple of injuries, then you lose a couple of games and suddenly you are in trouble, you know. And then when you are in trouble, you get this extra games in Champions League qualification, in EuroLeague and Conference League later on. So also these games where everybody's probably more focused than A League, and then suddenly you are out of the rhythm, and it can happen then that you are in trouble like they were the season before, you know. So when I arrived, I felt like they were really trying hard to prepare and find a squad that can be more competitive in this season, even though there was a lot of changes, many new players, and a lot of players that left the club. It was a big challenge, not only for the club, also for me as a coach, you know, to start with the whole process, because the team was not a unit. Yeah? Like most of the times when you come to a new club, you have a base of players, and then you put some players around them, and you know you can adjust a little bit. But this time, it was a completely new squad, many new players, many players also from other countries, from other leagues, who are not used to work in Lithuania. So it was a big challenge. And when you look at our results, especially in the first round of the season, the first 9 games, we had many difficulties in the games. We lost a couple of games because of the way we put the squad together very late. Also, new players, a lot of new players. It was difficult for us, you know, to start the season. But then, step by step, in the second and the third round, it was much better. We found like a base of 16, 18 players who were competitive enough. And then we made some points, but still we had a couple of disappointments also in our league, because there were many games where we lost the points without big need. But still, coming back to your question, the club and we as a staff tried really hard to put this team together, find a competitive team that is able and willing to play a good part in our league. And in some games we made a good job, but in many others we didn't. So yeah, it was a challenging season, I think, from the start for the club and for the staff and for the team.
What was your mission when you arrived? Did they go like, "Hey, Roland, you're here now. We know you're very good at winning cups. Win us the Lithuanian Cup, or win us the A Liga again, or don't get us relegated." What was the benchmark for expectations?
I think the most important for the club was that you don't get in trouble like in the season before. You know, that you don't need to fight to just stay in the league, uh, taking care that you don't get relegated. That was the main thing. And of course, like many other clubs in this league, you dream about Europe also somehow, you know, because You got the first three places, you got maybe the fourth place, depending on who's winning the cup, and then you got the cup competition. So the club wanted to have a stress-free season, and if there was a chance maybe to play for Europe somehow, take this chance. I think that you can't plan to win the cup. I think this is not possible, because it's so many things that can be in the way. You just get a difficult draw in the first round. For example, you play in Kaunas against Žalgiris in the first round, and you can go out, and that's it. So you can't plan really the cup. But in league, it was like having a calm season, stress-free season, and trying to be one of the teams who is battling for Europe.
All right, so you pretty much met and exceeded all the expectations. You are seventh in the league, but you're in no danger of getting relegated. And you did qualify for Europe and
Yeah.
second qualifying round of the Conference League for next season.
Exactly. Yeah. At the end, you can say not only me, we all together completed the mission in a really, really good way. Like you said, like I said also, like we are not happy really with the results in A-League. I think we could have done much better in many games when I think about all the games. So I think we could have been also closer to this fourth place. But in the end, we won the cup, and second round Conference League qualification is really a big achievement then.
Yeah. How would you characterize Lithuanian football as you discovered it? You said you didn't know much about it. Then you got here, you have all these opponents. What's it like?
I think it's a physical league, really physical league where many teams work a lot on set pieces, like offensive, defensive, even throw-ins from almost the middle of the pitch. It's part of the game of many teams. I think it's also a league that is a little bit divided into two parts. I think that teams like Žalgiris Kaunas, Žalgiris Vilnius, Hegelmann, having really, really good squads who can be able to play in other leagues also. They have the quality, they have, of course, also the money to prepare these squads. So the football that they play is another style of football because they can control the games. They can prepare chances. They can create chances. They are not depending on set pieces that much, on counterattacks like many other teams. So these teams have a certain way, a certain style of football because they have the quality in the squad. And then the other teams, also like we and like Sudova, maybe this season a little bit better than usually, but Jugas and Šiauliai, these are teams who can also play that style of football, but not through the whole season. They are also depending on many other things. And when these teams like having injuries or suspending players, then the game changes directly. So in first place, it's a physical league. It's, I think, for me, divided into those two parts. But still, I can see that in this season, many teams also improved in the style of play, trying to be more in control of the games, be tactically more difficult to defend. So I think there's an improvement already in this season, and I think that in a couple of years, this league will improve even more. But right now, for me, it's like I said, it's divided into these two parts.
Does it help or hinder the development of the league? Would you say that a lot of the games are played on artificial pitches, in some cases all year round?
Of course, it's different to play on artificial than on grass, and especially for the teams who are not used to play on artificial. It's always difficult then to play suddenly on artificial. But I mean, you have to accept it, because like I was working in Denmark, also in Switzerland, where also many teams are playing on artificial the whole season. It's a different game. If I could choose, I would always rather play on grass than on artificial. I think that you can also see that Hegelmann and Žalgiris Vilnius are playing, for me, differently at home on artificial than away on grass. So it's of course a difference, but I don't think that it stands in the way of development for the league at the end. Because if you look at Norway, Sweden, Finland, Denmark, many teams playing only on artificial as well, but still the league and the players are developing. So I don't think that's in the way.
And in some cases, it's even advantage in the European qualifiers, like Iceland.
Yeah,
Great example.
Of course, it can be an advantage. Like for example, in Switzerland, Young Boys Bern playing on artificial, even in Champions League group stages. Of course, it's for teams like on this level, which they are playing. It's of course strange suddenly to play on artificial, so you can benefit from it. But I think in general, it's not in the way of when you talk about developing a whole league.
All right. Well, let's talk about the cup final, which was on natural pitch, not the best conditioned ones looking from the outside. Certainly not towards the end of the game.
No.
It was a very rainy day.
Yeah.
So you roll in against Hegelmann, who you yourself in a couple of post-match interviews admitted are stronger than Panevėžys. And it's a very tense game. First half, maybe they have a bit more initiative, but not really able to create any dangerous chances. You have dangerous chances, but not really converting. I think there was a post at one point in the first half, which should have gone in. Looked like you're mainly playing on counterattacks and maybe when attacking using flanks. And then second half, it seemed like you took more control of the game, maybe won the midfield, were a bit more physically dominant, and then scored a fantastic overhead bicycle kick to win the cup. How did you prepare for the game, and how was it through your eyes?
I think that we also controlled the game already in the first half time. I don't think that we just played on counterattacks. We had many moments also, especially in the first 20 minutes, where we controlled the game, where Hegelmann tried to press our central defenders, but they didn't push up as the whole team because they were, I think, in my eyes, a little bit afraid to push out as the whole team. They knew about the speed that we have with our wingers and our two, let's say, strikers.
You caught them out a few times. You caught them out a few times on that left wing pass behind the back and.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that we also in the first halftime, especially in the first 20 minutes, controlled a lot the ball. I think that we created also in the first 20 minutes 3 good chances where especially Smith should have probably scored already in this part of the period of the game. And then in the second halftime, I think from my point of view, like from the bench, I thought that we are not controlling the game that much anymore. I felt that 2-3 of our main players were a little bit tired. That was just my impression, maybe because I also know the players better than others. But we scored then in the right moment. I think we scored in the right moment, and they had no answer for this. To be honest, they were surprised. They were like almost shocked that we scored because they couldn't believe that this is going to happen again for them. That was my impression. In preparation for the game, when I said after the games in our league that we are not on the same level like Hegelmann, that I meant that we are playing in the same league, but sometimes as as a team, when you play against strong opponents like Hegelmann or Žalgiris Kaunas, you can't do stupid, easy mistakes. And we did in the games against Hegelmann many simple, stupid mistakes where they scored. And that's what I meant. We are not on the level when you look on our games, when it's about the whole 90 minutes or about the games in A-Liga in general. You know, we always tended to do simple, easy mistakes that cost us then the win or a point. And that was the difference in the league between us and Hegelmann, that they have their own individual quality, and they as a team are not doing simple mistakes, so they win the games, bring the games home. In the cup final, it was like, or it is always like, you win or you lose. So I told my team, we are not driving there to Jonava to just play, just take part of the game. We are driving there to win this game because we have the quality. It's only one game. It's on natural grass. It's away. And I told my team that the pressure is on Hegelmann more than on us, because they are the third time in the final. They lost already 2 times. They are second in the table. So when you look at the table, of course, they were the favorites also. They won 3 times in 4 games against us in the league. So everybody expected Hegelmann to win this game. But we knew that we have a chance and that we can beat them. So we drove there not just to play, to win the game. And our idea of the game was that we, with our center midfielders, Lucas de Vega and Isaac Asante, have 2 players who can keep the ball, who are always asking for the ball, who can drop down in the right moments to make them go out of their position. So we create some space behind the last line. And we knew that their central defenders, Armalas and Berry, don't like to go in sprinting duels. They like to defend more when the strikers are with the back to their own goal, so they can adjust their position. They are tall guys. They don't like to go in the sprinting duels. So we had the plan to overplay the first line and the small pressing moments that they had. And when we managed this, to have always deep runs from 3-4 players and switching the position, not only long line deep runs from the wingers, so also diagonal deep runs. So it's difficult, to take over these runs. And I think that we as a team realized then also after a couple of minutes, when we succeeded to make those runs 1-2 times, that it's possible for us. And that I think was important to have this confidence then to win the game at the end.
I think you're right. It was certainly evident from the side that maybe they came into this game. I'm not saying that they didn't want it. Obviously, they did want it, but maybe they felt like they're owed one for the previous losses in the final, 2 in the last 3 years. Now 3 and 4. And your team, they just seemed a bit more stalwart throughout the game.
Yeah, I mean, of course, when you think about Hegelmann and you prepare for the game, you know that the pressure is on you. You know everybody's expecting you to win. And you as a player of Hegelmann, you also expect yourself to win this game, to bring a trophy to the club for the first time in their history. And that can be a lot of pressure. And then when you feel that the opponent that day is really into the game and is really like from the first minute really alive on the pitch and is really strong in what they are doing, like defensively and offensively, then of course you maybe start to think already after a couple of minutes, and that can mean that you can't play like free the way you played before, maybe in the A-Liga, because there is then suddenly the pressure on your shoulders and keeps you not going like you're used to, maybe.
Yeah. How much did your heart drop when they hit the post, the crossbar?
I didn't see it really directly, because there was I had a small conversation with the referee on the line about the scene before. So when I looked up, the ball was already on the post. So luckily for me, I didn't see the whole scene. Yeah, if you want to win a trophy, you need luck also. That's the way it is, you know. And
especially in the cup, yeah.
Especially in cup, and you know, a week before we played in the league against them, we were unlucky because we lost the ball 5 minutes ago, and they scored. It was a 0-0 game, so yeah, if you want to win games, and especially in the cup, you want to win a trophy, you need to have luck. It's no other way.
So this is your third national cup trophy of your career, I believe. Two in
Yeah.
yeah, and the first one in Lithuania. In your first season, what does it mean to you, and what does it mean to the club?
I think for the club, when you also look at the history of FK Panevėžys, I think they won now 2 times the cup, 1 time the championship. I think also 1 time the Super Cup, and they are also really young. It's a really young club. Like after it was not Ekranas anymore, you know. So they won a couple of titles in the small period of time, and of course it means a lot for this club to, you know, not just to win a trophy, but maybe to show whole Lithuania like we can compete with the big names in Lithuanian football right now, like Žalgiris and Hegelmann, you know. So of course it's a overwhelming feeling to bring this club to bring the cup to this club and to the city, because you could feel that everybody that is supporting the team and the club was really looking for it, you know, was really like waiting for us to win a cup again. And we could feel this before the game, and especially after game when we celebrated with our fans, that it means a lot to the club and to the city to be able to compete with the bigger cities here in Lithuania and with the bigger clubs in Lithuania. And for me personally, you know, as a coach, at the end, that's the way it is. You work to win something. You know, you can work really hard and try the best, but if you don't win the cup or you don't win a trophy, you know, there's something missing. There's something missing in your career, and I'm happy that I could manage for the club and for the team and for the city to bring this home, especially that in last time the club I coached before Panevėžys, Swift Esperance in Luxembourg, I lost the cup final there after penalties 3-1, which was a huge disappointment. It was also against my former club in Luxembourg, so I knew the people there and many players also, and I had this feeling, strong feeling of disappointment that I didn't finish my job really well. So this time when we drove to the final, I was also like trying really hard in the week before the final to prepare the team, to put everything in the way, make sure that we didn't miss on everything. So to go on the pitch and really be prepared to win this. So I tried really hard in this week to prepare everything because I didn't want to experience this disappointment one more time.
What does it do a little bit on an existential level for you? Because if you took the Panevėžys job, at least in part, to, you know, prove as a challenge, right? And then you win the cup in your first season, what does the future hold for you here?
Of course, it's like I said, as a coach, you're always interesting for other clubs when you win something. That's the way it is, you know. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do when the season is finished, you know. I don't want to say that I will leave Lithuania 100%, but of course, I can see myself also maybe on another level than Lithuanian football. And this I can say without any disrespect, but, you know, I coached teams in Germany in second and third Bundesliga, Switzerland first and second league, Denmark second league on a good level. So I want to go back there, you know. I want to go back there where the level is a little bit higher. Of course, I don't know if this is then the next season or whenever that the chance is there. It has to be also the right club, the right moment. But of course, this trophy can open this window a little bit more.